Am I seeing you later today? I shall check with the wife. It is likely, yes. Fantastic. Well, we are super chilled. I don't think I'll be having any red wine though. I'm had a bit too much last night, so I'm gonna take it easy today. But yeah, so today I want to do a dev stream, carry on where we left off, and basically get the stealing skill in play, because we spent all of yesterday getting a massive amount of items into the game. So that was very productive. No, I can't do wine either, yeah. Yeah, dude, so it's stealing skill today. So, quite exciting. I'm also trying to get the multi-stream working, so I'm seeing if this is working. So I think I'm live, yeah. It looks like I'm live on YouTube. How do I share the link? That's my next question. Pop out dashboard, channel level settings, send feedback, stream, webcam, manage. Manage? Create highlight video, add stream marker, share. There we go. Copy. Cool. I'll also send this to you, Paul. Awesome. So I think it looks like I'm live on Twitch, I'm live on YouTube, and I think it looks like it's coming through both sides. So I'm pretty pleased with that. And a little bit unstable in the bitrate, but we'll hopefully it stabilizes. I should have enough bandwidth to handle this. But I guess I'll ask Paul, how's it coming through? Am I coming through okay? Is it super glitchy, or what are we looking at? All good, nice. That's fantastic. Awesome, cool. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn the server on, have a little walkabout, see where we are sitting. Master server's on, world server's on. World server has our 920 items, which, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, we have added to our item objects. So that's cool. That means I can add all of the cool new items that we've put into the game onto my character, and I should be able to, maybe we'll zoom in here a little bit, show where we are. So here we have all our wonderful water slimes. These guys are really great for training. And they're very aggressive, as you can see. I'm also quite chuffed with the bow animation. A little slap from the slimes. And also super chuffed with the mini-map. Where's my... I'm 6 ranging on this account, that's not bad. These little slimes have found me and are trying to kill me. Naughty little slimes. But yeah, so what I want to do is I want to add the thieving skill, where we've added all of the items that we need to add it to the game. And what we want to do is basically the place we're going to test this out is at our bread stalls, and I might make bread stalls able to be thieved from at like level 1, or I'll just adjust this account's thieving level. But I think it makes sense that you should be able to steal from a stall at low levels. But basically to do that, we're going to create these skill object JSONs, which I haven't created a JSON creator for this, so we're just going to create the JSONs by hand. Normally I do it like this just because my logic was there's not that many skill objects in the game, so it's fine to do a little bit of stuff by hand. Oops, is she okay? Cool. Seems fine. Definitely my favorite is the mining. It's when you run out of ore. Actually brings a question, if I run out of ore, should I have the thing switch to the sword on depletion? I mean, I think holding the pickaxe is actually fine, because if the ore comes back and you click it, it makes sense. I don't know, I'll think about that. But we're going to put some bread stalls here, because they actually sit split city, and that's going to be a nice place to train up the thieving skill. And we just got to construct those JSONs, but I think it's also nice just to test everything while we are planning. Let's do that. Awesome. Also need to add like a close menu to the bank menu. I actually don't have a way to close the bank, so I don't know if you've noticed, every time I leave the bank I'm like clicking away. But another thing about the bank is that we've made it very easy to rearrange items. So in the original game it actually took quite a long time before we allowed bank rearrangals, so like people had to pull items out of their bank and they couldn't just move things around, whereas now you can. And we're going to add bank tabs, again probably in a localized version, because we've been thinking about that, but I'm not entirely sure which route we're going to go with. I also maybe want to make, because I'm just seeing it now, this mini-map icon. So I want to make this a little bit smaller. I think that makes more sense. Okay, that does feel a bit better. So the size of the pixel, like at a regular height, is kind of equivalent. It does seem slightly off here. I think it must be the rounding. And yes, it does grow when you zoom in and out, but I think what that is kind of tied to is you still need to be able to see this, and anything thinner is less. That's a 2x2 pixel block, technically. I also checked RuneScape, they do the same thing, like their middle is a square, and the square stays like relative to the rotation. So it's exactly the same. Because I was like, do you rotate the square or do you not rotate the square? I'm talking about the square up here, and I guess the answer is you don't rotate the square. Let me maybe make that a bit clearer. There we go. So I'm talking about the square on the minimap. I think I'm not going to rotate the square. Also, if anyone's wondering why I'm not dying, I'm immortal, and I'm immortal for testing. Technically, I have 0 health, and I'm not getting sent to spawn, and I've disabled my health bar. So that's how I'm immortal. But yeah. Cool, so remember we have added all of these items, so we can now create our skill object JSONs. And if we go over here we can see the different skill objects, so we'll probably use like tin or rock as one of our bases. And I'm just going to pull up one of my data sheets, so maybe what I do while I do that is, just so it's a bit visually interesting, I'm going to let my character fight some blue slimes, because funnily enough that lets me test things, and it also lets my character level up, so it's like 2 for 1. Iron Man mode in Jericho, death equals character wipe. Yeah, we'll definitely do Iron Man mode, but meaning what Iron Man mode means in MMOs, which is slightly different to a permadeath mode. But we will do hardcore Iron Man, where a death you lose your hardcore status, if that makes sense. So not a complete character wipe. I've seen some mods on OSRS that do a character wipe, and the way they actually did it was really interesting. They created a private key that was your login, that was on your computer's drive rather than a password you knew. And then what they would do is they would wipe, if you died, they would wipe that password from the computer so the account could never be logged into again. I found that a really nifty way for a mod to effectively provide that functionality to a game. So that's kind of interesting. Am I out of arrows? Yeah, I'm out of arrows. That's why we bring the spear. Spear's strong. Spear's very slow though. Okay, cool. So what I'm doing, just to narrate where I'm doing and what I'm going, but no password reset. Yeah, I don't know, dude. I wouldn't lock people out of a game. I would just have a hardcore mode, and then if you die, your status gets changed. So like until you've died for the first time, you're a hardcore Iron Man. When you die, you're just an Iron Man, and that's how OSRS does it. And I think that's pretty fair. And sorry, I was saying just to narrate what I'm doing. And give a little bit of a view, we're going to go to check my sheet on the game design doc, which contains information about, I should really just get this doc in a way that I can show it on stream, but it's currently like in my browser and I just don't want to set all of that up, or I haven't set it up yet. Sweet, so we're doing stealing. Now, our first level requirement for stealing is actually 5 and then 25. I'm going to change it to 1 and 20, and then it's going to go 1, 20, 40, 60, and then it goes 75, 90. I can go 60, 70, 80, maybe. Or 75, 90, I suppose. Surgeon stalls. Where does gem stalls? Gem stalls come in at 85. It's also a little bit weird. I think I'm going to tweak gem stalls to level 80. I think that makes sense. And then I think I'm going to put sturgeons at 90, and we're going to go 60, 70, 60, 70, 90. Okay, cool. This makes sense to me. So, what do I have here as the base setup? So stealing, our skill ID. Okay, so we're going to do our skill. So first things first, what's the skill ID of stealing? Okay, so I'm going to show you what I'm working on. So we're going to make the objects one at a time. I have a little list, and the first thing we're going to make is a bread store. And I'm going to show what that is visually as well, and just keep leveling up my character. Lol. It's funny when you level up a character in a game you made. So we're going to go to our skills sheet, and we'll notice that stealing is skill ID 13, so we'll keep that in mind. And then we'll put 13, this is one of my sheets, stealing, the name of the object is going to be a bread store. You don't need a tool to use a bread store. So I probably need to also add that to all of my skill objects. Okay, cool. So let's do this one step at a time. First thing we're going to do is we're going to open up our skill objects. I want to have access to this whole folder. I've got it here in my code side. So we're going to open up the... is this is my master and world, and then I think I just have a single file. Yeah, okay. Open up. There we go. So here we have the assets, inside the scripts, and then we've got JSONs, and in the JSONs we have our skill objects, and here's all 25. So this is what they look like. Let me bring this up a little bit big so everyone can see what we're doing. Is that readable? There we go. Sweet. So I think the first thing that we need to do is all of these skills have required tool IDs, and I think the tool ID, I suppose I can just set it to 0, right, and then just use a 0 check. That's kind of what I'm doing with the furnace and the anvil. So the furnace and the anvil have recipes, so they're a little bit more complicated. Hey Win, how you doing, buddy? Just watching on the DL. Oh wow, 7 viewers as well. So hello to everyone watching. If you're a first-time viewer, a follow is a massive deal and can help me out a big amount, and would really appreciate that. Yeah, keeping it breezy. Fantastic, bro. Nice little chilled Sunday. Where are you? What time are you going for your hockey match? Okay, cool. So I'm going to start by making the stall object, and I'm going to just make the file first. So should I reveal this? Here we're going to go duplicate that. Actually, let's not duplicate the anvil. Let's duplicate the tin rock. This will all start making sense very soon. Okay. So now we've created our 25th skill object, breadstall. So object ID 25, name, breadstall, skill ID 13. We've discussed this, stealing. Level requirement 1. XP, how much XP are we giving for bread? Might have to adjust that because level 1. So it's bread is supposed to be 5 and 5 XP. And in fact, since you're here, maybe I can discuss this with you through the chat. What do you think of making bread stalls stealable at level 1 so that it's a nice alternative source of early game food, because bread only heals 3, and then you don't have to do like 5 levels of pickpocketing. Alright, 2 PM for the hockey match. Nice, bro. Okay, sweet. So I think if we do it at level 1, maybe give 3 XP. I even think we can give 4 XP and make stealing just be a little bit faster as an early game skill. I don't think there's a crime there. That stall's also blocked with members. Yeah, I think having... Well, again, there'll be no members locational blocking this time, so that's going to fix the stall's problem. So we'll set level requirement 1, we'll make this 4. Drop rate. So, again, early game, I'm going to go with 5, because it'll take your stealing level. So it'll be 20% in the beginning, so they'll be quite slow until you start leveling up. And then they'll be pretty decent. Yeah, dude, I think stalls around the GE area will be perfect. And the next question is, are we calling it the Damascus Exchange or the Jericho Exchange? And if it's the Jericho Exchange, is it the JE, not the GE? So drop ID is now what we're dropping. Tick rate at 3, I think's right. 25 restock, 6 max stock. Tool ID is going to be 0 because you don't need a tool. And now we're going to go here. Lol. See, the slimes, they find me. They want to kill me. Sorry, just to show you guys what I'm laughing at. I'm laughing at this because I'm testing out like how the aggro works, and it's pretty cool because if I stand here, and obviously I'm immortal, but if I stand here, these slimes will actually find me and slowly start all attacking me over time. Yeah, I think pickpocketing having higher XP rates makes sense. I think one of the ways we can achieve that is allowing pickpocketing to be a one-tick action. So if you click and pickpocket frequently, you can increase the amount of XP you're earning, but it's also requires a little bit of active play. Okay, so we want to get what the item we're dropping. So bread stall drops bread, right? So bread is 879 item ID. So now that we know that, we can go here, and what we're dropping, drop ID becomes 879. Tick rate's 3, restock rate 25, max stock 6, tool ID 0. So this is now our bread stall. And basically this is the template that we're going to use for adjusting everything that we need to allow people to be able to steal from. 2 ticks for pickpocketing, 3 for stalls, 1 tick maybe for high level pickpockets. I like that. That makes sense to me. Cool, so now I'm just going to note this on the Jericho sheet. Skill object, stealing bread stall. So we got chemist stall, grocery stall, meat stall, sturgeon stall, weapon stall, and gem stall. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to just extract the item IDs of everything that we want to emit, so that we have them on shorthand. I'm just going to put them onto a, in fact I'll do this, I'll make it a, pull this out here, there we go. We'll just write down all our item IDs on this, and then we can reference it whenever we need to. It's so funny, by the way, when it's so funny doing the streaming with the very large text so that it's readable, because it's like, this text is readable on stream. It is incredibly big on my editor, on my screen. It really is its own, Joel. Hey, Prenny, thanks for the follow, bro. I really appreciate it. Cool, so we can go back here. Ah, I just killed one of the slimes. Fantastic. Oh, gotta level up that melee skill. So let's try and remember what items we're pulling out here and write them down. So I want this, I want this, I want this. Just think. I know it's a health potion. So that is 687 health potion. Any tips for someone stuck in tutorial hell? Which tutorial hell? Are you talking Damascus tutorial hell, or OSRS tutorial hell, video game development tutorial hell? I'll be honest, if it's video game development tutorial hell, I'm a big fan of following tutorials to learn skills in life. A large portion of my learning to code came from following tutorials online and just trying to emulate other people's work. So I'm big fan of that, very pro. Okay, so I need to remember what stalls I need. So we've got a chemist stall, grocery stall is going to give us avocado, meat stall gives us raw beef, sturgeon stall gives us sturgeon, and the weapon stall gives us like a copper longsword, if I recall. So let's do this. We're going to go here, we're going to go Avo 723. By the way, should we add avotoast to the game so that if you steal bread and avocado from your bread and grocery stalls, you can go and make avocado toast? I feel it would be very millennial. So, grocery stall is going to be avocado, meat stall is going to be raw beef, chemist stall is health potion. Let's get the raw beef. That's 745. And I think the gem stalls is a bit of everything, so that's going to be one of the more complicated ones. Eating lunch, so I'm going to be a silent observer for a while in case you try to talk to me. Thank you, and I'll keep that in mind. Enjoy your lunch, my man. I hope it's spag bol. Or if it is spag bol, don't burn it. Toast is a homage to the farm. It is, and it's also a millennial meme. So I think I think it definitely has to be. And I think we'll add bread plus avocado to create toast. I think that's a fun one. Okay, cool. Back to the game design doc. Oh, actually, hold on. Let's make my character attack. By the way, pro points if you can see that the character's attack sprite needs his spear fixed so that it stops clipping. But you know, slowly catch the monkey. Sturgeon and weapon stall, I think, right? You get beef, avocado, health potion. It's gonna be a raw sturgeon. Raw sturgeon. It's 493. And a copper longsword. 49. And then we need to know the item IDs of all of our gemstones for the gem store. And then we should have all of the data. And if you're wondering, just kind of jotting it all down here so that we can use it in a second. So we're going to go topaz. And I think these are in order. So that makes my life a little bit easier. I'm going to start at 671. Yeah, so here's topaz, and then it'll always skip one because of the noted version. Yeah, fantastic. So it's going to go topaz. Oops. 673 is going to be alexandrite. 675 is going to be sapphire. 677 is going to be tourmaline. 679 is going to be tanzanite. 681 is emerald. 683 is ruby. And 685 is diamante. Cool. So we have got all of our data, so we can jump back here, and we can now start filling it in. How many skill objects are we making? There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stalls, so we need to make a new file for all 7, so I'm just going to quickly do that first. We'll also add them to the game in order. I'm also going to add them to my little sheet while I'm doing all of this, because each of these are going to have a unique skill object ID, because they have unique data, creating the 7 stealing skill objects. I'm just doing some data filling, and let's see, it's going to go, let's make sure we put these in order. So grocery, so grocery store, meat store, chemist, weapon, gem, sturgeon.
Are you gonna go change your bath? Okay, you have 2 minutes.
I'm going to call it a potion stall, because then that's all the stall: bread stall, grocery store, meat stall, potion stall, weapon stall, gem stall, sturgeon stall. Fantastic. Okay, cool. And none of these have tool IDs. Sweet. So now I'm going to actually create the files. I think we're just going to duplicate this bread stall 5 times, or 6 times, 7 times. Cool. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now we'll rename them. I find naming is so overly important and so underrated when you're studying computer science for the first time, because boy does naming things properly help you so much. It's absolutely unreal. 27 is going to be a meat stall. 28. Let's just get that order one more time. Grocery meat potion, weapon gem sturgeon. 29 weapon stall. 30 gem stall. This is all going to make sense very soon when all of these things are suddenly functioning in the game. Bristle grocery stall, meat stall, gem stall, weapon stall, sturgeon stall. Fantastic. So what these objects do is they also control our XP rates. So this is where the server, because this is the reason they're in JSON, it's not in scriptable objects, not sitting in scene, is so that the server can also know what the kind of XP rates, drop rates, all these things are expected, and this also means that we can do kind of authoritative server-side checks to make sure that no funny business can occur. And so that's kind of why we do it in this back to front manner. So here's our bread stall, very happy with this. Grocery stall, what does that need to drop? So let's go. First of all, it's item ID 26. Grocery stall, skill ID is still 13. The requirement on these is going to be 20. And the XP that we give for a successful steal from a grocery stall is going to be 12. And the chance is going to be 65. Fantastic. So we're going to go 12 XP. Chance is your drop rate is 65. The drop ID, this was the item ID we gained earlier. This is our avocado. It's 723. Tick rate, I'm happy with. Restock rate, we can make a little bit slower. So we can go 35. And we can tune the max stock slightly down. This is going to make people move around a bit more if they're stealing from grocery stores. And it's a nice balance between the up and the bottom, if that makes sense. So let's just double check all of these stats. This looks good. Gonna move on to the meat stall. So 27 meat stall, 13 level requirements on these is gonna be 40. XP drops on these is going to be, let's see where I've got it written down, 16. And the drop rate is going to be 85. So you can see the drop rate is not as aggressive on this one, and the XP rate is 16. So this is actually quite a nice thing to do as a skill. And then we're going to grab our drop ID, in this case raw beef 745. Raw beef is not super useful, so you can see how this is a better XP rate for what you're getting. And we'll put the restock at 40 with a max stock of 4. So you're kind of getting slightly better XP rates but a slightly worse item. That's kind of the trade-off that you're making as a player when you're deciding to steal from meat stalls instead of the others. Oh, cute. Crazy, I just noticed 8 viewers on Twitch. That's actually like the most I've ever had concurrently. So hello to everyone, and thank you for tuning in and watching. And if you have any questions or want to know anything, just shout. And if you want to see something visually different from the JSON files, also just shout. But it is a dev stream, and this is what dev looks like, a lot of text and data entry. You know, it is the requirement behind that which we love. Cool. So our meat stall, I'm pretty happy with all of that. Jumping onto our potion stall. Potion stall is actually a really great one because this drops health potions, which are super useful. So this is one of those ones where what you're getting out of it actually means a lot, and can be not only a useful early game help, but can extend well into the mid game. So I recommend getting stealing up just to do this. just to get potions, but they only unlock at level 60. So it is not the quickest grind, but you can imagine how useful it is. So potions, I think, are supposed to give 20 XP. Yeah. So again, not a huge XP up from our previous one that's available at level 40. So you can see again how that is a higher XP rate opportunity for players. Potion stalls, lower drop rate overall, jumps up to 180. Again, this is tied to the usefulness of the item. And then the actual item is the health potion at 687. Tick rate 3. I think we'll put the restock rate at 45, and we'll put the max stock at 4. I think this makes sense. Cool. Weapon stall. Weapon stall drops the copper longsword. Our drop rate on a weapon stall is going to be 210, and the XP that we give is going to be 25. So 210, 25. Ooh, did we remember to do the level requirement? So this is 70 at 60. Yeah. Okay, cool. Weapon stall 29. 13 XP 25, 210, drop ID 49, tick rate 3. We'll go restock 5. I think max stock can be 6 on these. I think it's fine. Weapon stall, copper longsword. Again, not a great item, better XP. Interesting trade-offs. And now we are jumping onto gem stall. So gem stall is the most complicated, so I'm actually going to quickly do sturgeon first, and then we'll talk about gem. So gem would be level 80 requirement, meaning sturgeon's going to be 90. This is going to be our sturgeon stall. I would say fish stall, but this is a fishmonger who only sells sturgeon, so take it or leave it. XP rates should jump up here. Yeah, it's 40 at the sturgeon stall.
What about Mason Hill?
Yes, Margaret. So sturgeon stall jumps up to 40 XP, and that means we're probably going to drop about 30 for a gem stall. I wonder what the XP rates were that we previously had. $30 kind of makes sense to me. Okay, so XP drops 40, drop rate on the sturgeon are 250. So 250 on drop rate. Item is 493. 3 on tick, level requirement 90, 31 on object ID. I think we got it. This makes sense to me. Cool. So now we're going to jump into the gem stall. So gem stall is going to get XP of 30, a requirement of 80. Drop rate's going to be complicated, and we'll get to that. And then we have tick rate, restock rate, max tool ID, XP. So we're going to give different drops based on roles, and the roles are going to determine what item we're going to get. And all of this is threshold based, and I'm going to explain this in a second. Okay, so I'm just extracting the data. So basically, the idea behind a gem drop rate is you roll a rate, and then you have a chance at getting the variety of gems depending on whether your roll succeeds or not. So in order to do this, we need to have tiering rates and then award tiering gemstones depending on the success rates. So here are the actual gemstones, and then here are going to be the drop rates. So it's a 1 to 2 chance to get topaz. So in other words, your roll must be greater than 122. The way the roll is determined is it's going to be your thieving level as your base roll amount, and that's your bonus that gets added to it, and it's going to roll with that in mind to determine the percentage amount of times that you're going to succeed, and then the rolls will get progressively harder, and the system will actually roll from the highest roll down. So I can show you how I did this with fish, so this will make a little bit of sense. So if we go to ocean net fishing, you can see here are the drop rates, 65, 80, 300, so this is the hardest drop, and then here are the items that you get. So if you succeed in all 3 rolls, you will get the most expensive item. If you succeed the first 2 but fail the third, you'll get this one, and if you only pass this roll, you get this, and if you don't do any of the rolls, you won't get the item. So that's the general idea, and now we're applying this to our gem store, which has the ability to give you any gem in the game, but according to a scaled drop rate. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to kind of translate the maths, because I have an older version of this idea that doesn't have the full maths. So what the previous version did is it described how much more complicated the drop rate has to get. So the first is 122, and the next would be plus 75 to that, so it's 197. And then a sapphire is plus 45. So the number that I'm looking for is 242. And then the next one is plus 20, I think. No, 30, 15, 9, 3, and 1. So plus 30. So 272 plus 15, 287. I think it's 9, 6, and 3. The last ones? Yeah, no, 9, 3, and 1, my bad. Okay, so let's go back here. So plus 9, 296, plus 3, plus 1. So I think this kind of starts illustrating what's happening is you're rolling a number to 300, and if it's greater than less than 122, you're getting nothing. If it's greater than 122, less than 197, you're getting a topaz, and then everything else is within the scale. You can see a diamond is a 1 in 300 chance because of this. And what that means is this is how we're going to kind of tailor this drop rate, as we've kind of just worked out. So now we can just put the data into the system. So I'm going to just do this, make my life easy. Cool. So now our drop rates go 122, 197, 242, 272, 287, 296, 299, 300. And over here we go 671, 673, 675, 677, 679, 681, 683, 685. So I could make a system for handling the creation of skill objects, and I do want to, and Win makes a good point that I should, but the reality is that there are only like 50 skill objects in the game. So I have built a system for generating items, which does all of this work with huge amounts of automation. The reason I haven't put that into skill objects yet is the skill objects themselves are quite unique. There's 50 skill objects, and they all kind of have different, like even in this scenario, we've got quite a difference coming out just in how a gem stall behaves to a sturgeon stall, and they're still just things you pickpocket from. All gather objects have this ability to have a tiered drop rate, so we're just extending the tiered drop rate functionality to include all of the gems, of which there are 8. So we have to have like 8 drop rates, and then here you can kind of see the curve of the graph in the numbers, where you've got higher chances of getting the lower level gems, but if you do a perfect roll, if you roll a 300, you're gonna get the high level gem. So yeah, whew, all of that. So that's all of the skill object data entry, which means I can put that on the server, and maybe while I do that, we'll put something a little bit more visually interesting for everyone to see. And to any of the new viewers who haven't seen the game, this is it.
Okay, now stop. Stop. Take it out. When you have to listen to me, okay? When I say stop, you need to stop. There's too much, okay?
I love these little blue slimes. Also, the swamp is easily my favorite zone, like, in the game. I just like the ground color. And I think just filling it with the water slimes and the kind of low bushes, I'm a big fan.
We've got our flour.
Cool, so now that we've entered all of that data, oops, now that we've entered all that data, we can see it over here in the project, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this. So we go skill objects from 25, and I'm going to place these on the server. So if we go into code view on the world server, it's kind of, you can see here in the JSON structures, this is where all of the skill objects get placed, and then they've got a skill objects locations, which we'll get to later. That's actually putting them in the world map. But first step is now putting them in this folder. And there we go. So now it should, I think it may complain if I try and run the server, to be totally honest. I think it's going to shout at me about not having the skill object locations in place, which is, you know, I fail safe I put in there so we don't launch the server with missing items. Okay, so it didn't actually complain, it just didn't place them. That's better, because it shouldn't, but whatever. Anyway, what it did do is it did load 31 skill objects onto the server. So you'll notice this crashed because I turned the server on and off while talking. Now we're going to turn the server back on, and we're going to actually see. Yep, there we go. So the server has restarted, and quite phenomenally, we've got all of our skill objects loaded into code, which means technically these exist, but they don't, because we can't do anything just yet. So what do we need to do? Well, we need to create the 3D objects that house all this data. Then we need to place the 3D objects in the scene, so visually where we see them here, and in the server's memory, so the server knows what's happening. So we're going to do that now. And yeah. Cool, so first things first, we'll go to our sample scene where we keep all of our 3D objects. So this is a scene where I kind of store all of the objects in. So what we're going to do is we're going to take an existing skill object, and then we're going to edit it with the 3D data of the stores, which we've got over there. I'm thinking about which object is going to be a nice starter object for us to just place this off of. And I think we also keep them in objects. So I think we can grab. I think these ore objects are probably just the easiest to work from. Cool. So this is my clay rock. So this is a kind of more standard skill object, and we're going to fetch our. Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to unpack this prefab completely. I'm going to do this, unpack completely, and we're gonna rename. We're gonna go skill object. We're gonna go bread stall, and we're gonna make sure that we have our 6 stalls up here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7. I meant 7. Okay, so it's bread stall, grocery stall,
No. You mixed in the bowl.
meat stall,
Baking is a science, it's not an art. Mix.
potion stall,
Mix, like that.
weapon stall, gem stall, and sturgeon stall. We're gonna name the main gem dealer Mark, just as a reference to my uncle.
Okay, here you go, mix. No. Make the ingredients fall out. And no, recipes not gonna work. Give to mama.
Okay, just getting everything in order, making sure this is all coming together. I do have some problems with my bitrate. I hope it's not too much of an issue. I hope it's not entirely linked to the attempt to put this on YouTube, and I hope that the YouTube upload works. So this is all kind of coming together. Anyway, let's put the stalls together. So I've named them all here, as you can see. Maybe this is not the clearest, but what we're going to do is we're going to fetch them from our master object here. So I should have skill objects, stealing, fantastic. There we go. So we've pasted all of these objects. Now, here's the magic. Start with the bread stall. So every stall needs an empty. So the empty is going to go in, and then we're going to put the bread in. And now you can see these 2 objects over here. The reason I can't see them just yet is they have not been sent to the center. Now they are centered. So there you go. You can see the size of the stealing stall relative to the rock. We can get rid of the rock mesh now. You can also note that when you steal the bread, and we can just disable all of this so you can see, when you steal the bread, it will disappear from the table, and the table will change, hence the empty. So that is something that we can do. We can also play with how many times a stall needs to get stolen from and that sort of stuff, but these can all be tweaked with balance. The next thing to look at is the collision box. I'm pretty happy with that collision box. It's covering the entire object pretty perfectly. And the final thing you'll see here is setting the available and depleted. So the depleted is this empty object, and the available is this bread object over here. Skill object is 13, and the object ID is our 26. Or is it 25? I think it's 25 for the bread stall. Cool. So 25, 13, bread and empty. So now we're just going to do this for all of our stalls. So just activate them, turn the bread stall off just for now. So grocery, so everyone needs an empty. So I think the first thing we can do is just drop an empty in everything and delete all the originals. So actually I think I can do this, 2, actually it's like that, yeah, there we go, cool. So now these all have empties, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we're going to delete those. If we turn the empties on, you can see everything. Not zeroed just yet, there we go. And now we're going to put the respective ones in their correct things. So grocery stall, meat stall, potion stall, weapon stall, sturgeon stall, gem stall, and the final empty can get taken out. and now we just need to make sure to zero everything. There we go. So now we can deal with these one by one, and just move these out, maybe do this. Cool. So this is going to let us just see everything while we're working on it, just putting them kind of next to each other. Okay. I feel like I'm missing one. Okay. For some reason the empties there are blocking them. But there's your meat stall. Now we are ready to assign everything and then start getting this show on the road. So grocery store is going to be 2613, meat stall is going to be 2713, potion stall is going to be 2813, weapon stall is going to be 2913, gem stall is 3013. And you remember these correlate with the numbers that we had set when we were defining the JSONs. And then we're going to assign everything. Empty available, empty available, empty available, empty available. Yeah, it's boring to do this kind of wiring up of objects when you make them, but it's also, you only do this once. You know, let's just make sure it's always empty. Gems, weapon stall, sturgeon stall. Cool. So now, stealing bread, stealing vegetables, meat, chemistry, swords, gems, and fish. So we have all of our base objects, and we can come here to our skill objects tab, and we can drag these in. So this is going to create 7 new skill objects for us, and then we can see them over here. We've got bread, gem stall, grocery. It's alphabetical, so that's why they're in these different locations. Now, what is the final step for getting these into the game? Well, it's the server has to know where these objects are, and we have to place the objects in the main world. Now, I don't want to place these objects by hand, and the server has to know where they are regardless. So we've built a system that you can put the positions of the objects on a pixel map, PNG, that we have got coded with various hex codes. So all we need to do is assign hex codes to the various skill objects and place them in the pixel map. And that's that. And then in terms of where we're going to get the positioning for this, we're going to look at the old game, Damascus, and look at where we placed everything in that game, and use that as a kind of general reference point for where we want to place these. So a few things we need to do. I think we're going to start by deleting these and opening our placement scene. So this skill object scene, and skill object scene uses this skill object placement mechanism. And you'll notice we have skill objects here, and then we've also got active colors. And then what I also need to do is, if you go into the code view and we switch to this one, and we go to the skill object system, we can actually make this a little bit more manageable. So here you'll notice the actual object names which get associated to their correlated hex codes, and then we assign the hex codes in the scene over here. So here are the actual colors. So here are the actual hex codes in assignment. So that's just how we're tracking it all. What I think we're going to do is, and then obviously the final piece of this puzzle is, you'll notice here this uses the skill map object over here. Now if we open the skill map object in Sprite, you will notice that this has got different colored dots which represent the various skill items. So this is how we place them in the world map. And again, we needed to build a system like this because when your game world just gets to certain scales, traditional like in-scene placement and that sort of stuff just is no longer sufficient. So that kind of leaves us with this. So the first step is going to be assigning the hex code and taking it from there. So I'm just going to open my sheet over here that has all of my hex codes, and I'm just going to, in fact, before we do this, we're going to let's just add this to the list of names. So this will allow these hex codes to be recognized. So these 6 tags that we've added to our skill object names list are going to allow the system to recognize them when we add the hex codes at the 26th, 7th positions in our array. And as you can see, everything is ordered according to these kind of item IDs that we create everything. So first thing we're going to place is bread stalls. Now the next step is we want to actually see, where did we place the bread stalls previously? So we're going to open the old version of the game. Okay. One sec. Cool. I'll be right back. I'm just going to go to the bathroom. Sorry about that, I just had to help open a door. Cool, and as we can see in the background, the old game has already loaded in. Fantastic. And yeah. What we're going to do in order to make this work... Oh, I actually forgot something. Okay. Sweet. So we're looking at this old game. We're going to type in bread stall. There they are. There are 10 in the whole game. Fantastic. So there's 2 in the Icewind Tail market over here. There are 2 in the market, the everything market in Burning Burden, it seems. There are the two I remember outside Split, two in Dominia, and that's more or less it, all of them. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Am I missing some? Maybe in Three River. Nope, nope, nope. Just two. Okay. So that gives us an idea of where the braid stalls are. So we're going to now assign a color. I think it should be a braidy color. So that kind of means it's going to be in this creamy range. So let's go here. So I'm kind of choosing this color over here. Okay, that's braidy enough for me. EBC773 as the hex code. First thing we're going to do is we're going to drop that hex code in my sheet, and I have a Google sheet that kind of just tracks all this, and we're going to call this braid stall. And then we're going to add the hex code to our Unity scene. So you remember this scene that we spoke about? I'm still going to keep this version, the old version, but we're going to go back to the new version, and in the new version we're going to edit the information. So we go here, drop the hex code in, EBC773, fantastic, very braidy color, very human. So now what we're going to do, we're going to jump back to our sheet, and we're going to place the braid stalls where we saw them in the old map. So there were two over here that actually sit like that. There are two in the kind of market that sits here. Put them like that. And then there are two all the way down here in the Icewind Tail market. So these are going to sit like that. Maybe they're a little bit one row down. Yeah. Cool. And then there was two in Dominia. So we're going to do that. And I want some more in the starter zones. We are going to put some market pieces there, which I'm pretty happy with. I also think it might make sense to have one in the Goblin Village down here. I think I might just put like a braid stall over there. Cool. And then I just save that. That's going to now handle braid stalls for us, and we're going to do the placement of all of these pieces before having them gen in. I'm sure there's going to be a problem with my tool ID of 0, but there might not be, and if that's the case, we get lucky. So we'll test. That's all we can do. Cool, so the next one we want to place is our grocery stalls. I think that can be like a green, lettucey green. These give avocados. I'm going to go with this green. This green's kind of weird. 66FF2B. Drop it in my sheet. Yeah. Are you okay, Hannah? Wild child. Cool, so now we're going to look at the old game and figure out where the grocery stores are placed. Yeah, there's only 6 of them, so there's 2 in Icewind, 2 in Burning, and I'm assuming just 2 in Dominia. That seems to make complete sense. I'm just going to check how often that is the case. Meat stalls follow the same pattern. Pretty sure sturgeons follow the same pattern. Okay, so we've basically got a market set up. And then the only ones that are out of place are the gemstones. Yeah, the gem stalls are all over the cat city. Fantastic. Fantastico. Okay, so now I'm going to close this because I basically know where everything needs to get placed, and we're going to place it as we see. Sweet, so we jump to this scene. So as you'll recall, I assigned that kind of noxious green to the grocery stores, and then we're going to start placing. So there was 2 of those there. Basically just 2 of each kind gets put in this market area. This might be a left or right thing. I think what I do want to do, so I'm going to temporarily create a new layer, and I'm just going to get my full world map in. And we're going to paste what's happening here? The whole original world in, so I can see where the paths stop and start.
Did you load this bit? Well done, good job.
Fantastic, so that is actually exactly what I wanted. That has placed our grocery stalls. No, not completely. Last 2. So select layer 1. There we go. Fantastic. Cool. So now we need to choose our meat stall color. I think a pinky color for meat. This makes sense to me. FF6294. We're going to drop this in our hash table. I'm going to add this here. This doesn't look like a pink I've taken before. Fantastic. And this is going to be meat stall. And again, because as you can see, we're kind of placing everything in these markets. And maybe, I think it's going to be 2 like this, but then I think what I'm supposed to do with this, oops. I think this is going to be like this. And then the second half is going to come in here. Cool. Let me just get our pink color again. There we go. And as you can see, if we look at the chart, we can see the kind of rough placement of the desks. Fantastic. So, what do we do after meat stall? It's a potion stall. I think we can use this kind of tealy blue whimsical color because I don't have enough tealy blue whimsical colors, and that'll be perfect for potions. 26 FFE3. And we're going to call this Potion Storm. Jump back to our A-Sprite scene. And put the 2 in. There we go. There we go. There we go. good.
Cool, I'll make that coffee for you now.
Thank you. Awesome. The next one we need to add is going to be our weapon stalls. So the weapon stalls are carrying copper weaponry. I think we're just going to do a kind of gray, a gray with red in it. You know, a gray with orange in it, something like this. Kind of makes sense to me. A362444. Cool. Again, the nice thing about hex codes is there really are an infinite number of colors to choose from. And if you ever, on pure chance, selecting the same color twice, you can just change it. Let me make sure I'm just doing everything in order. Bread, grocery, meat, potion, weapon. Then it's going to be gem and sturgeon. Fantastic. So jump over here. This is our weapon stall color. Put 2 over there like that. 2 over there like that. I think you can see how the markets form here out of the stalls. Now we need a color for sturgeon. That's fine. Let's check have I used this code? Nope. Sweet. So this blue now becomes our sturgeon blue. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So the final one is, ooh, I made a mistake. No, well, it's not a mistake. I jumped the gun and did sturgeon right off weapon. I need to do gem stall. I'm gonna make sure I put it in the right order here though. But yes, sturgeon, the reason I did that is sturgeon is at these 3 locations with the other ones, whereas the gem stalls are all in a unique spot. I'm going to go for this kind of royal purple color for gem. I hope that blender is not coming through too strongly on the stream, sorry guys. Okay, cool, so we've got the purple color. We're going to assign the purple hex code, which is 9E1DF. So I'm gonna paste that. I'm gonna paste that in there. This does seem like a unique color. Fantastic. And now we can place these gem stalls, which sit up here in the city of boats, my favorite city, literally. And I think that's one of the spots it's supposed to be. There's also some here. And I think we can do a little very aggressive stealing spots over here. This is nice. I like the balance on these gem stall positions. And I'm actually rather pleased with all of the placement on all of the stealing stalls. So now we're going to delete that other layer that we were using for site, save all of our changes, and we can jump back to our Unity scene. And you will recall that we have to enter the colors into the color list in the same order. So there's our braid color already, and now we're just going to copy out the hex codes, and I'm just going to lock this so this stays here, and then we can just do this one. That's grocery, meat stall, potion stall, weapon stall, gem stall, sturgeon stall. there they are. They're the hex codes. You'll also remember that we added them to the code. So here they are in code, and the order here matches the order that we've added the hex codes. So bread is the 26th entry, then grocery, then meat, then potion, then weapon, then gem, then sturgeon. It's important that the order is retained, just because that's how it's been coded. You can create linking lists and all sorts of stuff like that, but again, it's like sometimes it's just easier, sometimes it's just easier to follow a set of rules and stick to them, and you save yourself a lot of trouble. If I can ever give a bit of advice to any young programmers or game devs out there. Cool, so the last step is, as you will remember, we made a bunch of 3D objects. So we're going to go and fetch those 3D objects, and we're going to put them into the generator. So here is our skill object placer. So here's the 25 skill objects that ended as anvil. Now if we got our new object thing, I think I don't have to place these in order because it'll find them by name. A little bit helpful, but yeah, so we can just grab all of these that we made, all 7 of them. Cool, so what do we have here? We've got 32 active colors, 32 things. We've got a skill map. This is going to update our collisions sheet so that enemies can't walk over these objects either. And we just hit play, and this should just make everything. And you know everything's been made because you get a little pot of potash on screen. Cool. If we check the scene now, you can actually see that this is every skill object across the entire game world and placed at the correct heights. So that I'm rather pleased with. I do think this is going to mess with my fish, but that's fine. Okay, so I think I can see some bread stalls. Yep, there they are. This looks like everything's placed. So now we can go back to the main scene, and what it's going to do is it's going to update any existing objects, so we just have to pull in the new ones, and then from there we can start testing. Oh, and we'll have to do a few updates to the server to make sure that it has all the new information. But here we've got skill objects. So if we've got our skill objects prefabs now, this has now placed all of these stalls across the game world. So remember I said we have to put it in the 3D world? Well, the beauty is our automated system has just done that for us. So here are all the gem stalls. So hiding under the roofs, but let's just do that. So there you can see the gem stalls. The market's been placed where we want that. So if we were to check here in Icewind Tale, we can now see the Icewind Tale market. These are our chemistry stalls. They're correctly assigned, which means they'll turn that off, so you'll see what's actually on the stall when it loads in. The only thing we need to do now is we need to ensure that our fish are fixed. So if I'm not mistaken, if I type in ocean, no, I think what I need to type in is fish. Mm-hmm. Why does it look like I'm missing some ocean fishing spots? It looks like I've lost some of my ocean spots, which doesn't make any sense to me. So gotta figure out exactly what's happening there. But we should be able to go to our main scene and at the very least see the bread stalls that we placed. We go here and we go to our bread stalls. There we go. So there are those two over there. These are managed to place over here. These are managed to place over here. So very happy overall. It looks like we've managed to get all of these skill objects in place. I've been on stream for a little over an hour, hour and a half. Thank you to all the new viewers. That's amazing. Really cool to see so many concurrent people watching at the moment. I'm going to take a short break, have some lunch, and then, yeah, I'll probably jump on a little bit later and see if we can do a little bit of a later stream. But other than that, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for the follows. Thanks for everything. And have a great day, guys. Have a excellent Sunday.